What is the price of a human life? For Alize, it was $150,000, a debt she could never pay. As she prepared to leave the hospital and face certain death, she received a final notice. But when she opened the envelope, there was no bill. Instead, there was a dried, withered rose from 20 years ago. She looked up at the world-famous surgeon, Dr. Zane, and realized he wasn't there to collect her money. He was there to settle a debt from a cold, rainy night 2 decades ago. A debt involving a spilled cup of coffee and a heart of gold. How did a starving street boy become the man holding her life in his hands? This is a story of how one tiny act of kindness didn't just change a life, it saved one. The rain in the city didn't wash things clean. It only turned the dust into a thick, suffocating gray mud. 10-year-old Zane stood under the flickering neon sign of the Velvet Bean, a cafe where the scent of roasted coffee and expensive pastries mocked the hollow ache in his stomach. Zane's clothes were thin, held together by threads and hope. In his shivering hands, he held a small bundle of roses. They weren't the fresh, long-stemmed beauties sold in florist shops. They were the leftovers, slightly bruised, petals curling at the edges, given to him by a sympathetic vendor. "Please, sir, just one rose. It's for my mother's medicine," he whispered to a man in a trench coat. The man didn't even look down. He simply pushed past, splashing muddy water onto Zane's bare ankles. Zane didn't cry. Crying was a luxury he couldn't afford. His mother lay in a dark room in the slums, her cough sounding like breaking glass. Every rose sold was a breath of air for her. The door of the cafe swung open, releasing a wave of warmth and the sound of jazz music. Out stepped Alize. She was the picture of elegance. A silk scarf draped around her neck, a smartphone pressed to her ear, and a steaming latte in her hand. She was distracted, laughing at something a friend was saying on the phone. Zane, seeing an opportunity, stepped forward. But his foot slipped on a patch of oil. The latte flew from Eliza's hand, the hot liquid drenching her cream-colored designer coat. The paper cup bounced twice on the pavement and came to a rest in the gutter. The silence that followed was deafening. The security guard at the door stepped forward to grab Zane by the collar. "Hey, look what you did, you little brat." Zane's heart hammered against his ribs like a trapped bird. He looked up at Alize, expecting a slap, a scream, or a call for the police. Instead, he saw something he hadn't seen all day: recognition. "Stop," Alize said to the guard. Her voice was calm. She looked at her ruined coat, then at the boy. She saw his blue lips, his shaking hands, and the way he clutched those sad, wilted roses as if they were his only shield. I'm so sorry, miss," Zane choked out. "I didn't mean to. I'll clean it." I have no money, but please." Alize knelt. She didn't care about the mud on the sidewalk. She took her own silk handkerchief and wiped a smudge of dirt from Zane's cheek. "It's just a coat, Zane," she said, reading the handwritten name tag his mother had sewn into his shirt. "But you look like you're freezing." She didn't just give him a coin. She took him by the hand and led him back into the cafe. The manager frowned, but one look from Alize silenced him. She ordered the largest hot chocolate on the menu and a plate of chicken sandwiches. As Zane ate with a desperation that broke her heart, Alize bought every single one of his bruised roses. She handed him a $100 bill. Alize tucked a rose into her lapel. "To me they are beautiful. Use this for your mother. And Zane, promise me one thing. When you grow up and become someone important, don't forget how it feels to be cold." Zane looked her in the eye, his gaze suddenly sharp and determined. "I will pay you back, Miss Alize. I promise." 25 years passed like a whirlwind. Eliza's life, once a fairy tale, had turned into a tragedy. Her father's textile empire had collapsed under a mountain of debt. Her husband had passed away in a tragic accident, leaving her with nothing but a crumbling house and a heart that was literally failing. She was diagnosed with a complex cardiac blockage. The only surgeon capable of performing the life-saving procedure was the mysterious Dr. Z, a man known for his genius and his refusal to take unsolvable cases. Alize lay in the hospital bed, the shadows of the room closing in. The cost of the surgery was $150,000. She had sold her jewelry, her car, and her remaining land, and she was still $100,000 short. The hospital administration was cold. "We are sorry, Mrs. Alize, but without the full deposit, we cannot proceed with the surgery." She closed her eyes, accepting her fate. She wasn't afraid of death. She was just tired of fighting. The day before she was to be sent home to die, a man entered her room. He was tall, wearing a white lab coat that looked like armor. His face was masked, but his eyes, they looked familiar. He didn't say a word. He checked her charts, nodded to the nurse, and left. The next morning, the nurses arrived, not to discharge her, but to prep her for surgery. "Wait!" Alize cried. "I haven't paid. I can't afford this." The nurse smiled. "The chief surgeon has personally cleared your case. He says the bill has already been settled." The surgery lasted 8 hours. When Alize woke up, her chest felt light. For the first time in years, she could breathe without pain. On the day she was finally allowed to leave, she demanded to see the bill. She needed to know who her benefactor was so she could spend the rest of her life working to pay them back. The administrator handed her a single sheet of paper. Alize looked at the total due section. It was crossed out with a thick black line. Attached to the paper was a small, plastic-wrapped object. It was a rose, pressed, dried, and preserved for 25 years. Below it, a note was written in a strong, confident hand. "Dear Miss Alize, you once told me not to forget how it feels to be cold. For 25 years, that rose has sat on my desk to remind me of the woman who saw a human being instead of a beggar. You don't owe this hospital a single penny. Your bill was paid in full on a rainy Tuesday in 1999. With a cup of hot chocolate, a silk handkerchief, and the kindness that gave a dying boy a reason to live. With eternal gratitude, Dr. Zane *. Alize walked out of the hospital, the bright sun warming her face. She looked at the dried rose in her hand. She realized that wealth isn't what you have in your bank account. It's the seeds of kindness you plant in the hearts of others. She didn't go back to her empty house. Instead, she went to the small park near the hospital. There, she saw a young girl sitting on a bench, crying because she had lost her bus fare home. Alize sat down, reached into her bag, and pulled out a sandwich she had saved. She handed it to the girl and whispered, "Eat this. And when you are older and successful, remember how this feels." The cycle of kindness continued. Because a rose, even when dried, never loses its fragrance if it was given with love.